Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 11 of the Spring Craft Countdown, where I'm sharing a brand new spring themed project to make with your Cricut every day for 14 days. Today's project is another 3D craft and it's one that glows. Here it is. It's a window box lantern with loads of flowers in the front and then it lights up at the back. It's hard to see because my camera lights are kind of cancelling it out a little bit, but there's lots of silhouetted butterflies in the front that you can see through the window and the vellum. You can kind of see them, there you go, if I turn the lantern a little bit away from my camera light. This is surprisingly easy to make for a 3D project, although it does take a little bit of time to get all of those flowers done. But the best thing about this lantern is it's reusable and rethemable for other seasons or other holidays without having to make the entire lantern structure again, because all of the flowers at the front, the decorative panels and those butterflies on the inside can all be removed so that you could replace them with something else without having to make the whole structure again. Let's get started. This project is part of the 2026 Spring Craft Countdown. Download the cut files for free for the first 24 hours after this video goes live using the links in the video description or by visiting craftwithsarah.com/spring26. After 24 hours, the cut files for this project can be purchased from craftwithsarah.com/spring26files. Or get the entire Spring Craft Countdown plus 35 extra bonus files from craftwithsarah.com/spring26 bundle. The download comes in a zip folder. You need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into your cutting machine software. For instructions on how to do this, visit craftwithsarah.com/help and choose Cricut, Silhouette or Scan and Cut. Within there are dedicated help guides on topics such as how to upload SVGs, how to modify them to make custom projects, framing tips, and how to cut cardstock with your type of cutting machine. If you have any questions, email hello@craftwithsarah.com. Now, on with today's project. To make this project, you'll need cardstock in all the colours that match the design. There are quite a lot of colours, but most of them you only need a little bit of each one, so this is a great project for using up your scraps. You'll need some pattern paper for the panels on the sides, but if you don't have any, you could use a solid colour instead. Or you could perhaps do some text along the front, for example, Happy Birthday, Happy Mother's Day, something like that. You'll need your Cricut or other type of cutting machine with a light grip or standard grip cutting mat, and you'll need a scoring tool for your machine too. This lantern is designed to be reusable so that in the future, if I came out with alternate designs, you'd only need to change the flowers, the decoration, and the little butterflies inside. You wouldn't have to make the whole structure again. It goes together using a clever slot together technique on the flowers so they all pull straight out and can be stored flat. I've used some hook and loop, similar to Velcro, to put on these bits on the side so that I could take them off in the future and add different coloured ones to suit different seasons. If you don't have any Velcro, you could perhaps use some blue tack instead if you want to make them reusable, or simply leave them off or cut them in something that would work well for all different types of season or event. The roof comes off really easily. And inside there's another bit of Velcro, and then that brings out this piece of acetate. So in order to make this bit reusable, you will also need acetate or even an old cover from an old Cricut mat. That would work fine. If you don't have acetate, it's fine. You can leave off the butterflies and the project will still look absolutely beautiful. You'll also need a piece of vellum or tracing paper or some other kind of translucent material to go behind the window to help diffuse the light. To put it together, you'll need craft glue. I'm using Burley Art Glue, but I also like Collall. The reason I like these two glues is they don't bend or wrinkle the card like other glues can do. For the Collall, I use these needle tip applicator bottles to put the glue into so that I get the thin nozzle. The Burley Art Glue already comes with that. To add dimension to the flowers, use foam squares or foam pads. These ones are from Dot and Dab. They're 5x5mm and 2mm thick, but any will do. If yours are big, you may need to cut them smaller with scissors. But don't worry, if you don't have any of these, you can glue all the flower pieces instead and it will be absolutely fine. As well as glue, double-sided tape can be helpful, especially when making the box structure, but again, if you don't have any, just using glue is fine. A brayer tool is really helpful for getting your cardstock really well stuck on the mat and also for going over your fold lines to get nice crisp creases. You could also use a scraper tool or a rolling pin or a bone folder for doing the creases. Scraper tools are helpful for getting any leftover bits of cardstock off of your cutting mat. You may need a pair of scissors to cut your Velcro, and a ruler can be helpful for getting straight folds when you're folding up the sides of the 3D pieces. And finally, you'll need some lights to go inside. I'm using these submersible lights that I bought on Amazon. You twist them to turn them on. These ones are a nice warm yellow, but you can get them in all different colours. In order to make it glow really well, I'm using 3 of them, but one does work, it's just I want it to be that little bit brighter. You could also use battery-powered fairy lights instead. So that my lights don't move about inside the lantern, I've added a little bit of blue tack on the bottom to help hold them in place. This is what I'm using, but any kind of tacky repositional adhesive will work fine, or you could use a little bit more of your Velcro. Okay, that seemed like a lot of supplies, but hopefully it's nothing that you don't already have on hand, possibly with the exception of that Velcro. But like I said, if you don't have that, it just means that your pattern bits down here and the acetate inside won't be reusable or removable. All right, I guess we'd better get on with taking a look at the file. Here's what the project looks like loaded into Cricut Design Space. It's very big because of all of the different elements that make up the design, so you'll only be able to see a little bit of it unless you zoom out with the buttons on the bottom left. There's a box on the top left of the design to show you what size it should load in at, which is 24 inches wide and 36 inches tall. Check your project to make sure it's loaded at that size, and if not, change it to match. Ungroup all the layers by pressing the Ungroup button at the top of the Layers panel. Then click down to the first layer, which is that green box with the size options on it, and delete it. We don't want to accidentally cut that out. A few things to be aware of on the design. This cyan coloured shape should be cut from your vellum or tracing paper. The bright green one should be cut from your acetate, so the transparent, completely see-through material. The bright pink pieces down at the bottom should be cut from pattern paper. If you don't want to use pattern paper, then you can replace them for whatever colour you choose. We need to format all of the score lines in the project so that the Cricut knows we want it to score. Scroll up to the top of the Layers panel. You'll know that you're at the top when you see the 3 pink shapes. Then go down until you find another group. You'll know it's a group because there's a chevron arrow on the left side in the Layers panel. Click that arrow to open up the group. Within there, we've got a brown piece along the bottom and then 2 vertical lines. Click to select just the 2 vertical lines, then in the Operations drop-down, change it to Score. Go back to the Layers panel and click the title of that group to select it. So you see I've now got the lines and the brown bit in green. Down the bottom of the Layers panel, press Attach. Attach is important because it tells the Cricut we want it to do the scoring on that particular brown piece. Then start scrolling down the Layers panel again. And then stop when you get to the next group. Open it up and look in there. Click on the top layer, change it to Score, click to select that whole group and Attach. And then we're going to keep going down, and every group that we see, we're going to look in it, change that top layer to Score and attach it. They're all kind of mixed in with the other single layers, so pay attention to make sure you get all of them done. There are lots of pieces of flowers in here. Okay, and open this one up, change that to Score, click and attach. And then this one looks a little bit different, but you're still clicking the top layer to change that to a Score. And now we've got 4 in a row, nice and easy. And then very bottom, there's one other. And attach, and that's it. We're now ready to cut. Save your project so that you don't have to make those changes again, and then connect to your machine using the drop down up here. When you're ready to cut, press Make. That will separate out all of the colours for you. You can change the paper size in the drop down here, and then if you want to, you can click and drag to use up less space on your cardstock. While you will need a lot of white as the main structure is white, for the other colours, that was a bad example, but for example for this you only need a little amount. So it's great for using up your scraps left over from other projects that you've previously made, because you can move things about so that you can just put a little bit of leftover card on the mat rather than cutting into a whole new sheet. When you're happy with how everything is looking, press continue and follow the on-screen instructions to get everything cut from your cardstock, your pattern paper, your acetate and your vellum. Here are all of the pieces for the back layer of the flowers to go in the window box. I've laid the pieces one on top of each other following the assembly guide that's included in your download folder to check that I'm happy with the colours and I haven't lost any of the pieces. There are a lot of little bits in this design, not so much for this layer but certainly for the other layers of the flowers, so be careful you don't lose anything. We're going to start at the bottom and then work upwards. So let's move the flowers away from each other, and then we'll start with these 2 green pieces to glue one on top of the other. Next up, we'll add the flowers. For the tulip, start with the biggest piece to glue on. Then attach the next biggest bit with foam squares. And again, foam squares for the last piece. Then we've got the yellow tulip, which will be very similar. So start up with gluing that bottom bit. Then foam squares for the darker yellow. And then foam squares for the top bit. Now we'll move on to the white daffodil. Start with the bottom sort of brownie coloured piece to glue on. Then use foam squares for the big white bit. Foam squares again for the orange to make the trumpet in the middle. Then glue on the petal in white. It's quite a small piece for this one. And then we're also going to glue on the yellow. Moving on to the next daffodils. We've got the brownie bit of the top one to glue on. Then the yellow to do with foam squares. Then for the top daffodil, there's the trumpet to do with another foam square. Then glue on the piece for the end. For the little daffodil, foam square for the solid orange bit. And then glue the yellow on top. I'm not going to worry too much about lining this up perfectly because it'll look good no matter which way around it goes. There. So that's the flowers for the back piece. And then we've got the mud dirt section to go on the front. So this will glue and you want to make sure you don't go over any of the score lines. So first we'll fold upwards towards us along both of those score lines, like that, and then this will glue on front of the green. Remember, don't put any glue over those score lines, only go up to them. Try and be accurate along the bottom so it's all nice and straight. And then this is the back piece of the flowers, all done. Now we're on to the middle section of flowers. Now this not only comes with the flowers and a bit on the front, but also we've got these two tab pieces which will stick on as well, but we'll do that at the end. So put them to one side for now. I've already glued all the darker purple bits onto the lighter purple bits for the flowers because they looked very fiddly, so I thought I would do them just before I started. And I've also glued on the 3 very narrow purple bits on the stem here. These bits are the smallest out of everything, and if they're too small for you, leave them off. It will still look nice because it will just look like green leaves coming off of the stem instead. So if you can't get your glue neatly on them, it's absolutely fine to leave it. Okay, so once again, we'll start at the bottom by gluing the 2 green bits, one on top of the other. And there's those purple bits that I've already stuck on. Oh, I've just noticed a bit of green hasn't quite popped out there. That should not be there. There we go. Then glue all the purple bits, the darker purple bits, onto their lighter bits so you've got them all separate. And then foam square them onto the green. Because these are so small, I'll add the foam squares directly onto the green. I think that'll be easier. If your foam squares are too big, cut them smaller with scissors. Now each of these pieces are a slightly different shape. So let's line them up. This is the first one because it's got that little loop on the left hand side. Then there's one with a loop on the right hand side, which is the 4th one along. This one's got a big hook on the left, so that will be this one. That one's got a hook on the right, and so does that one. So I think these 2 bits are actually the same. One there, and one there. There we go. And then we've got the little ladybird. So foam square again, and that will be the white piece. World's smallest ladybird cardstock piece. Still bigger than a real ladybird though. Then we've got glue for the black bit. Shows his little eyes through. And then very, very thin and small glue for the red. Just the tiniest dabs of glue on there is all it needs. There we go. Okay, now we've got the 2 flowers that are joined together. We'll start with foam square for the big bit. This one's big enough to put the foam on the back. Line up your petals so they're all the right way round and they match the shape on the green. There we go. And then glue the top bit on. The remaining flower will go on top of the brown, so we'll do that after sticking on the brown. Once again, fold the 2 tabs upwards towards you, like that. So we've ended up with this shape, like a little bridge, and then it will glue on the front. Just like with the back bit, don't put your glue over those score lines. You've then got half the shape of that front flower. You can add foam squares to that. And add the flower, the yellow bit, on top, and then we'll glue the pink on. And that's the flowers for that second bit. We've also got these two tab bits. Fold it along the score line on both of them so that the kind of bit with the diagonal edges is facing up towards you. And we'll turn this over, flatten it out a little bit, and then the bits with the tabs will glue against the edge of the green. So we're doing this kind of thing so that the bigger, more rectangular side points out towards the back. The aim is that when this goes in the lantern, that bit will poke out towards the front. This bit will be going out towards the back, so we're making that kind of shape. Got my glue there up to the score line. Hold it flat, and remember, you're lining up with the green. You're not lining up with the brown. So I'll put that there and make sure that lines up exactly with the edge of the green. And then the same on the other side. Okay, so that's that one. And now that's the second piece of the flowers done. Now we're moving on to the flowers that will appear at the front. This one we're building up in two sections, the snowdrop bit and then all of the smaller flowers, and then they'll both go behind here. For this one, we're being a little bit clever with how stuff is stuck together, so pay attention, because what we want to do is allow some of the flowers to be able to hang over the front of the window box. This is my test one I was doing, which is why it's all been cut in white. You can see I've got some of those flowers going over the front, so we can't glue them directly to here, otherwise it won't have that hanging effect. We'll start with the snowdrops by gluing the darker green bit onto the lighter bit. This snowdrop here is nice and easy as that's already going to be hanging off the side. So we can add a foam square for the bottom bit, which looks like this. And then another foam square for the top bit. That looks like that. Oop, didn't do that very well. Let's try again. Tries to move about because the stem is thin, so be careful you don't tear it. There we go. Next up, we're going to do the stem to allow the second flower to hang over. So look for this piece. We're only going to glue under the stem, not the flower bit. Just the stem, the vertical bit, not the bit that's actually connected to the flower. And line that up. So the rest of it isn't actually glued. It means we can pick it up a bit later to tuck this flower over the front. We can add the snowdrop now. It says the same kind of two pieces as the one on the left. So we got this one first. Be careful not to dislodge or tear that stem bit. And then that bit on top with another foam square. We'll do something similar for the next snowdrop. So we've got this bit, we're going to glue underneath that top archway of the stem. So only in that bit. Line that up. And then foam squares for the snowdrop bits. I want to put some in those sides, so I'll need to cut my foam squares a bit smaller. Tiniest bits of foam. Peeling the tops off them is so hard when they're this small. There we go. And then the bit with the 3 petal prongs first. And the 2 on top, which again I use my cut foam squares for. Probably would have been easier thinking about it to put the brown on before the flowers, but it will still work, it's fine. That's the snowdrops. Okay, so this bit will go on the front and it will go underneath those flowers that hang and then line up like this. So we're lining it up along the bottom and with that left side. That's what it looks like from the back. So I'm going to guesstimate where that goes to. Probably about there. Doesn't matter if you're not completely accurate, but if you go further on, you might end up putting your glue on your work surface, so be careful. And then line it up. Gently pick up those snowdrops. And stick that one down. Don't stick the snowdrops. Remember, we want them to be hanging freely. And then we've got the flowers for the other side. Start up by gluing the lighter green onto the darker one. I'm going to remember about the brown for this time and do that next. Okay, so then this one will glue. Oh dear, this one will glue over the top like that. Okay. And some glue on the back. Line up the edge. There we go. So that's how it looks from the back. Then we've got this green bit to go on top, but again we're going to be a little careful with this because we want these bits here, the leaves, to dangle over the front of the box. So I'm going to put this on with some foam squares, but only on these flower shapes. So we've got this flower here and the big flowers there. That's the only bit I'm going to stick, and actually it'll probably be easier to do it on here. So 1 bit there, 2 there, I think that should cover it. So again, all of this bit at the bottom is now free to move around. Okay, then we've got the flowers to go on top. The solid layers will be done with foam squares, and then the ones with the holes in will be glued. And do all of them at once. If these are a little bit small for you to get your foam under, then glue all the pieces instead. I think I've missed one because I've got one more flower than I have foam squares. Going out on a guess and saying it's probably going to be up here somewhere because this bit is for the ladybird. There we are, and then the solid bits on top. You'll only see the very middle of these coloured bits we've already done to be the middles of the flowers, so you can dab your glue in all the petals like I'm doing, rather than trying to get it on the back of each of the little pieces. Once the flower's done, just the ladybird to go. Put my foam square directly in that little area there, and then put the white piece on first, then glue for the black bit with the eyes, and glue the teeny tiny red bit. Okay, there are no tabs on this one, it just slots into the front, so we're now all done for that bit, which means all the flowers are done, and now we can start on the main assembly of the lantern. Next, we'll put the front of the main lantern shape together. You've got two pieces with the window holes on it. One is slightly smaller and it's got these little step-ins at the front. That will be glued to the front of the larger piece. So it will line up exactly along the bottom, and then you'll see that it creates a little border around the edge. It's very hard to show when it's white on white. It's just to add a bit more stability and also a little bit of visual interest to the front. So we'll turn that one over and add the glue. When you put it on, use the bottom to line it up, because the bottoms will be the same width because of those little step bits. Try and get the bottom nice and flat and even. Then turn it over. You might want to wait for the glue to dry first to make sure you don't move it about. But then we're going to stick the vellum piece to the back. So this is the translucent material to help diffuse the light. It's going to go all around the hole, so you end up with about 1 centimetre of it underneath there. It doesn't go right the way up to the very edge, so don't put your glue too far out. I'm going to add the glue in the middle bits of all the windows, as well as around the edge, because we want this vellum to be really well stuck. You don't need to be super accurate with it, as long as all of your holes are covered and it doesn't go outside the edge of any of the white. Push down gently so you don't smush the glue into any of the bits where it'll be visible. The next bit's a little bit different depending on whether you're using the acetate piece to make it so that you can reuse the pictures that go inside the lantern, or if you're just making it as is and you won't want to change it in the future. If you won't want to change it in the future, then just leave it as it is and you don't need to do these next steps. You've got all the little butterfly pieces that will be the silhouettes on the inside of the lantern. Now, if you're not using the acetate, I don't recommend gluing them on here, because if you glue them on the front, it won't diffuse the light. You'll just see it as little white bits glued on front. But if you glue them to behind, like that, then you would be able to see your glue marks and it won't look very neat. What you could do if you're not using the acetate is perhaps cut the little butterflies from a kind of vinyl, adhesive vinyl, and then stick them to the back of the vellum, and then that would create the shadowing effect without needing the acetate. But if you are using the acetate to make it have the reusable pictures, then take this piece with the little semicircle, bend the semicircle slightly towards you, and this will be glued so it lines up along the bottom of those window holes. Don't go up into the holes, just go underneath with the semicircle pointing upwards like this. Don't glue over any of where the circle is. We need that to act as a flap. So I've just gone around it like that. Not sure if you can see because my lights are shining on it. Try and get it centrally. And then line that up there. Your acetate will then slide in there and that will keep it in position, and then we need a bit of Velcro or blue tack for the top. So you could use blue tack like this and have a little blob there. I'm going to use Velcro. This isn't actual Velcro, it's generic hook and loop tape, but it does the same thing. It comes with 2 rolls, one for each side, so one's sort of soft and the other one is hard and scratchy, and when they're pushed together they hold quite securely. We're going to need to cut a little bit to go along the top here to hold the acetate in place. I think my tape's probably too thick. I'll end up needing to make it thinner. But first up, let's do a little bit of each side so I know they're the same length. And then cut it in half. Then actually I'll keep it together and put one of the sides, this has got double-sided adhesive on it, so one of the sides, take the acetate off, will go down the top like that, and then the other one, peel that off. That will go on the back of my acetate. I'll slide it in the bottom hole so you know where it's going to go down, and then lie it down, push that bit on, and then those bits can be taken apart if you want to switch out the design at any point in the future. For now I'll put it back in so that I can attach the butterflies. It doesn't matter that it doesn't look very pretty, this will be on the inside, you won't see it. Actually, well, I will need to take it apart. So take it apart and turn it over so that you've got the side that you've stuck the Velcro on facing upwards. And then place it over the holes so it's roughly in place. Then you can use glue to stick on all the butterflies. It doesn't really matter whereabouts you put them. Just make sure that it's obviously over the windows, otherwise you won't be able to see them. The reason for doing the glue on this side is so that when it's stuck up against the vellum, you won't see any of your glue marks. Otherwise, as soon as that light comes on, if you did it the other way around by mistake, all of the bits of glue you've put on, even though it dries see-through, will show up. I'm not doing this in any real order, just putting them over some of the holes. It can take quite a while for glue to dry when you put it on acetate because it is plasticky. So put that to one side for now, wait for that to dry, and we can move on to the next step. Select the two pieces, which look like this, and fold away from you down all of the score lines. Also select the back of the lantern, which is the solid filled in archway, and this piece, which has got two score lines down each side. We'll also fold this away from us too, but I thought I'd show you how you can get your score lines nice and accurate, because sometimes the Cricut doesn't score very deeply. So what you can do is get a ruler, line it up along the score line, and even though I want this to be folded the other way because I want it to go away from me, I'm going to start the fold by bringing it up against that ruler, and the same for the score line on the other side. And then turn it over. Now I can see my scores on the other side, so it will be much easier to pull them back the right way. That one, and this one. And then to make the folds really crisp, go down them with a brayer tool or a bone folder or something similar if you've got one, or even a scraper tool from your Cricut. And then, as I said, make sure you do the same for these two. Okay, we'll take the base. Here we go. And then for these two bits, the side with the longest tab faces upwards. The shorter tab with the diagonal edges will be at the bottom. We're going to add some double-sided tape and stick this one along the side so it will line right up. You don't need to use double-sided tape, you could stick to glue. I'm going to do a combination of the two, and I'm going to do all my tape at once. This does make it a little trickier because it means it's all tacky, but I find it easier. And while I'm here, also this bit. Don't add any tape on that top larger tab. Take one of your long bits and we're going to line it up down the side. Be as accurate as you can. Oh, actually before I do that, because my tape is not super sticky, add a few bits of glue down. That way I still get the benefit of the tape holding it in place straight away, but when that glue dries it will be a little bit more secure. And then the same with the other one on the other side. Again, make sure the bigger tab will be facing the top. There we go. It's lined up nicely. Then these bits will go up like this, and our bottom bit will go and stick over those two tabs along the bottom. And we'll also add some tape along both of these sides too. Glue down one of them. I'll do this first, so before I bring the sides in, I'll glue this up so the tab lines nicely along that bottom. Okay, then we can fold those tabs at the sides inwards and stick the bottom bit to them. Oops, or you can drop your glue like I just did. Alright, so a bit of glue, bring it inwards so it will be nice and hidden, and then we're folding that in to stick on. If you've ever made boxes before, it's a very similar concept that we're doing here. We've got our 3 tabs down here to stick the front of the lantern to. So it will be the side with the vellum and the little semicircle on that gets stuck onto there. First up, I'll add a few bits of glue for a better stick. Then put this on top. You might need to pull the edges in a little bit to get it to fit. Sort of gently laying it down on top of those tabs for now. Then when I'm happy with the position, push down a little bit more to get it stuck. Give it a gentle rub over where you know the tabs are to help that glue and tape stick. You can also turn it upside down to help get that stuck. I'm not pushing hard because I don't want to damage anything. Just a gentle push down to make sure those tabs will be stuck. And now we've ended up with this shape. You can put in your acetate at this point, or you can leave that until the end. So that's how it looks from the front. It slides in. Open these tabs into, how can I show this, into the slit in that semicircle as far down as it goes, and then line up your hook and loop tape. And then you can't really see it right now, but when the light comes on, all of those butterflies will be illuminated. Almost done now. Just the box for the front that all of our flowers will go in. I've already glued all of my pattern paper to the bits underneath, and again, because I want these to be removable so that I can theme it for different seasons, I've added some of my hook and grip on the back. I've done the smaller ones as well. I've also already folded down all of the score lines. So this one, it's going to work like a little box, a 3-sided box like this, and then we'll add the sides on as well. Probably be easier to do the sides first. So we'll open this out and add tape down these bits. I'll also put it down the bottom too. And a little bit of glue. Do you know what? I just did that completely wrong. Well, not wrong, I mean it's still fine, but I meant to put my tape on these bits and then I ended up doing something completely different. It's been a long time filming this video. I've been sat here about 3 hours, so I think I need a break. Okay, so what I meant to do was, oh no, actually that is fine. Oh, I did do it right. Goodness me. Okay, so we're tucking these bits in and then sticking the square on top so that the tab on this one is pointing out towards where you've got the tab on that one. I shouldn't have started second guessing myself. I was right all along. Okay, there's that one, and we're going to pull it round. I want it to be nice and neat. And that one. There we go. So we've ended up with these two along the top. And then the same on the other side. Once again, the tab on this bit will be facing up towards that other tab. There we are. And those bits tuck over. A bit of glue on the top. And put the rectangle on the top of that. And there, so that's our little box. Then select whichever side you want to be the front. I'm going to go for the side that doesn't have the tab lines showing on the front bit. And add your decoration. Either by gluing, if you don't want it to be removable, or your hook and loop or blue tack. That is not straight. That's better. Okay, and the two little ones on the sides. Then we can glue the back to the front of the lantern. Then stick it where you've just put the glue to the front of the lantern. It should end up nice and flat along the bottom, so it will stand up beautifully. Next we'll make the roof with this long piece that's got a score line down the middle and these two scalloped edge pieces. First up, fold your piece down that score line in the middle so it will go nicely in half. Then open it out again, and each of these pieces will glue onto the tabs. So they'll glue on the top like this and line up so you can see that nice little scalloped edge. It's a way of adding a bit more detail to the edge of the roof, but also it makes these end pieces thicker, which is going to be really helpful to hold it all in place. They're the same both sides, so it doesn't matter which way around they go. We're lining up the thin part here, and the same for the other one on the other side. Now I got a bit carried away and ended up doing a little bit without switching record on my camera. So your lantern's probably got two tabs coming up here because we haven't done anything with those yet. What you need to do is add glue on the inside of those and then tuck them in and stick them to the inside. So you can see just about, that's one of those tabs folded over and the other one is folded over in the other side. For the roof, it's really simple and it will be nice and removable to add the lights in a little bit later. And if you want to switch out the acetate details, all we do is slide it in. So I've got that bit that's a bit narrower. Slide it in and push it down until it can't go in any further. Pull it tight around the top. The crease will go at the top where it points on the window. And then the other side, tuck it in here. I haven't done a very good job at that. Let's try again. There we go. So it tucks in and pulls tight perfectly so that there aren't any gaps in the front where any of the light could escape. And that is as simple as the roof is. It's really easy. If you find when you're putting it in that you accidentally push your front in a little bit, you can just drag your fingernail under the edge of some of the white bits to pull it back out so it's a bit more level. Just like that. And that's the roof done. Really easy. Now it's time to put the flowers in the front. Start with the back piece and make sure the tabs are folded out towards you. Then slot it in to the front like that and push it all the way down to the bottom. Next up, get the front piece, which is the one with the snowdrops, and we're going to carefully slide this in against the very front. Remember, we did these bits all dangly, so they're going to hang over the edge of the front here. Be careful when you slide it in that those bits don't catch or tear. You might want to carefully just move them out to make sure they clear the distance on everywhere. Push it in to get it nice and straight. That's very pretty. Then we've got the middle bit. Hold the tabs outwards and then push them in. So you're holding them inwards like that. Then place the design in the middle. Push it in and then use your fingers to open the tabs up again, and that will hold it in place, leaving a good gap in front and behind, so that when you look at all the flowers, they are perfectly dimensional. Isn't that pretty? We're now on the final step of making it glow. I've got my submersible LED lights. Let's turn them on. And I've put a little bit of blue tack, white tack actually, but blue tack is the brand, on the back so that they'll stay in place when I put them in the lantern. You don't need to use 3, but this is quite big, so having a few different ones can help it glow a little better. Take off the roof, it just slides out really easily, and I'm going to put 2 lights, oop, I'm just going to drop it. I'm going to put 2 lights in the bottom. This is an awkward angle to do on camera. And one, oop, drops it again. The other side. It'd be easier if I tilt it so that I can actually see what I'm doing, but then you can't see what I'm doing. There we go. And then the other one, I'm not sure how well it will hold. I might be better off using Velcro, but I'm going to put it on the back, see if it stays there, to get a glow coming out halfway up. Let's give my butterflies a little push in to make sure they're nice and close. You can sort of see it glowing now. It will look better in a minute. Then add the roof back on. That helps trap the light a bit better, so it will glow nicer. There we are. So already that's glowing a little better. If I turn out my lights, that's one camera light out. You can see all those butterflies peeking through now. And with the other camera light out, there, that is gorgeous. I love how it looks with the butterflies coming through, and it's really, really pretty. Even if you decided not to put the lights inside, it's still a gorgeous paper craft that will look amazing. If you'd like to see alternative versions of this lantern made for other seasons, let me know in the comments what you would like to see. I think a rose garden would look really pretty, as well as maybe pumpkins and sunflowers for autumn or fall. But if you've got any other ideas, please let me know. And remember, you wouldn't have to make the entire lantern again. Just take out the flowers, take off your Velcroed on decorations and switch out the acetate, and then you'd have your next season of window box all ready. I hope that you enjoyed this video on how to make this beautiful window box lantern with your Cricut machine. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and lantern fun. I hope to see you again tomorrow for day 12 of the Spring Craft Countdown, but for now, thank you so much for watching. Bye!